Hello everybody. For this project we read a book, Biomimicry, Innovation Inspired by Nature, by Janine Benyus. First, I'm going to define what biomimicry is. Biomimicry is a new way of viewing and valuing nature. It introduces an era based not on what we can extract from the natural world, but what we can learn from it. Throughout her book, she focuses on how we can use nature to solve problems of everyday life.
So throughout the course, we spoke about sustainable development. Basically, sustainable development is using our resources that will last for our lifetime and generations after. Currently, our world is not sustainable.
Nature offers solutions to all of these problems that were mentioned. We just need to tap into the innovation that's presented through nature. Instead of depleting nature, we should learn from it. In the first chapter of Biomimicry, Janine Benyus discusses how we would feed ourselves. First, she points out all the problems with traditional agriculture. She mentions how pesticides and fertilizer use has made agriculture the #1 polluting industry in the United States. She also shows how the monoculture of traditional farming increases soil loss and depletes the soil as well. She offers 2 solutions to this problem, the first one being mimicking the environment before construction, the way nature intended it to be, in order to grow the best crop. The example that she gives is a prairie, and this would not allow the soil to erode, and the soil would be much healthier, it would hold more water, and the whole environment would be less dependent on humans. The second option that she brings up is called do-nothing farming. It was invented in Japan and also revolves around the idea of minimal effort by humans. And the system operates the way nature does, and like animals aerate the soil, plants fertilize it, and trees provide like a canopy. The whole system works together to create a better crop. Our group agrees that there needs to be a more sustainable effort for agriculture, and we know this is important because we all need food to survive.
Energy around the world is a big issue currently for the world, since we have a huge reliance on non-renewable fuels such as fossil fuels and coal. Eventually we will run out. What the book suggests is that we, instead of developing a new solution like solar energy or wind power, we just look in plants. A quote from the book that pretty much explains this is, "Every morning, as our technicians don their white suits and static-free moon boots to assemble high-tech solar cells in toxin-laden factories, the leaves and fronds and blades outside their windows are silently assembling cells in the trillions." Basically, she's stating that while we're trying to develop a way to be more sustainable, plants have been spending their whole life just being sustainable themselves. And basically they use photosynthesis, which is basically capturing sunlight and transforming it to chemical energy, which they can use as they need. What the book suggests is trying to create somewhat of a photosynthetic way of creating our own energy without high cost or very dangerous metals using solar panels. Either way, our group agrees that we need to find a way to be more renewable because it is a very important issue.
Hello again. So the next chapter by Miss Benyus talks about how we make things and how the materials that we used to manufacture were based solely from nature, and we took what we were given, such as wool, wood, stone, but now we rely on like industry And there's a quote, it says in the book, "Life can't put its factory on the edge of town. It has to live where it works." Nature crafts materials of complexity and functionality that top-notch engineers are jealous of. For example, spider silk, when compared ounce by ounce, is five times stronger than steel. We need to make disposable materials that will only last as long as we need them, such as the natural materials, such as chitin, found from crab shells. We need to turn our focus from large-scale multinational companies and put fair trade and environmentally friendly practices into light. We need to be more innovative with nature. One example of this is a company in Chile who's using mussels and using the shells from the mussels as the protein to use as a coating for petri dishes. Using nature in small-scale organic farms can give rural farmers the chance to increase profitability. We need to change the way we make things so we have stuff for future generations.
In the next chapter, the author talks about how we can use nature to heal ourselves. She discusses how animals are able to tell the different toxins in different foods and what's good for them and what's bad for them. And she mentions biorational drug prospecting, which goes off that idea, finding medicine in nature and extracting the molecules that are beneficial, and then taking those molecules to the lab in order to mass produce them as medicine for the population.
So in the next chapter of biomimicry, we see how we are going to store our own things. And while the author does not exactly give a specific situation or issue with the topic, what I got was that we need to find a better way to store our information. And what she describes, or she uses an example, is DNA in organisms like you and I. Basically, DNA, instead of 26 letters like in the alphabet, DNA uses 4, A, T, C, and G. Each stands for adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Different combinations of all 4 of these letters, or nucleotides, yield proteins that we require to live. That's how you get all the protein you need to live, every organism, so on. And the author suggests that we follow this sort of example of patterns and codes to store our own things.
Hello everybody, I'm back, and we're going to be talking about business. One chapter of the book by Janine Benyus talks about how will we conduct business in future generations. Right now we are not using current sustainable practices. Our practices are destroying the environment and depleting resources for future generations. We need to green the industry. All semester we have looked at examples of cities and companies cutting down on their environmental and carbon footprint, such as the carpet video that we watched in a previous TED Talk. We need to make earth-friendly products in earth-friendly ways. We need to conduct business with corporations that promote nature conservancy and are using nature as their solution to today's problems. One positive, though, is that the green path has become the most intelligent and even the most profitable for company survival. Every material thing we produce reflects our relationship to the physical and biological world. We need to shop and eat locally. Shopping and eating locally puts money into the local economy. Also, I'm going to leave y'all with a quote today. Just as the invisible hand of the marketplace determines whether a company lives or dies, so natural selection works from within to shape the nature of life. "17 years ago, after this book's publication, we find examples of biomimicry in today's life. One example I'm going to be talking about is the bullet train. The bullet train, engineered by E.J. Nakasatu, an engineer with J.R. West, an avid bird watcher, used his knowledge of splashless water entry of kingfishers and the silent flight of owls to decrease the sound generated by the trains. These bullet trains are fast, reliable, efficient, and have a positive impact on the environment. This is a great example of biomimicry.
Another example of biomimicry is Velcro, actually. Velcro came from nature, from the birds' plants, and what they did was they stuck on things, and researchers looked into this, and they were able to recreate it, and now we see it in our military and NASA and everyday life.
In the previous slides, Benyus had talked about how to use nature to find medicine. And the Pacific yew, which is the third picture, is a good example of this technology. Researchers found that this plant had Taxol in it, which proved to be very helpful for HIV. And this further strengthened our group's views to preserve nature and to use nature rather than degrade it.